Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are and wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin, a creative content writer here in Chesterfield. I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. Sometimes the episodes we do are about stories and sometimes they're about information. And today's episode, I think, is a little bit definitely shaded toward the latter. It's our job sometimes to share important information, and this time of year, what we're going to talk about today is definitely important information for folks in Chesterfield. First, I want to welcome County Treasurer Rebecca Longnaker to the podcast. Rebecca, how are you?
I am doing well.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Rebecca, and thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. Obviously, this is, like I said, it's a very busy time for a lot of different people. Spring seems to, bring out the best in us. We're all running around. And obviously, with June the 5th, an important date, obviously for your office and for folks in Chesterfield for that tax payment deadline coming up. Before we get into the ins and outs of sort of how people can pay those taxes and what options are on the table for them, I want to talk a little bit about, as I always do with all the different guests that we have here, talk a little bit about sort of your background and how it is that you came to be treasurer, working here, doing all the things that you do for Chesterfield. How is it, what brought you to that seat across from me here today?
Well, Brad, it starts off with me getting my degree in accounting, becoming a CPA back in Baltimore, where we first got married. Mm-hmm. We moved down to this area when our twins were 5 months old. Okay. And did the stay-at-home mom thing. Went back into accounting, came to work for the accounting in 2013 in the accounting department, came to the treasurer's office as a deputy of accounting in 2017 and just found it to be a fantastic place. The county overall is, but then the treasurer's office offers something totally different. Yeah. When my predecessor, Kerry Adams, retired at the end of his term, there was no one that was in line to step up. Mm-hmm. And everyone looked at me and said, "You're a CPA, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, but I'm also an introvert, so I don't know about this." I took the plunge and stepped up, and mainly because that's an office at the time of 52 people, and I wanted them to stay together. They're an awesome family, and they've continued to be even as we've grown to a couple more positions. So that's how I came to be sitting across from you.
Now, in terms of, I think this is a good opportunity to sort of educate as well, because I'll be honest, my dad actually ran for Commissioner of the Revenue in my hometown once. If you ask me to explain the difference between treasurer and the Commissioner of Revenue, I don't know if I could do it accurately without like some sort of aid, right? I think I have a general gist. So instead of me guessing, how about I'll just ask you plainly, what would you say the difference is between your office and the work of the Commissioner of the Revenue?
The Commissioner of the Revenue assesses the taxes, and that assessment together with the Board of Supervisors' tax rate creates the invoices that I then am required by law to collect on. Okay. So I'm the tax collector. Right.
So in essence, the two sides are obviously sort of related, but they sort of serve very different functions in terms of the whole like bigger picture.
Yes, we are counterparts of each other.
That makes sense. Now, in terms of collecting those taxes, obviously there are lots of different ways for folks to pay their taxes. And as we're kind of talking today, if you're watching the YouTube version, you're going to see some different materials, some graphics, maybe even an example of a bill that you might receive. We're going to talk through sort of those different options, but for folks who are watching, I just want you to be aware that those things are going to come on screen. If for somebody who's listening to the show, feel free to check out that YouTube version. It will also have all the different links in there as well that you're going to see, that you would see in the description for the episode. Let's start with. I guess we should handle these different options in what might be seen as maybe the easiest order, I guess maybe is a way to think of it. I think in this day and age, a lot of people are used to paying things online. So obviously they can go to the portal, which depending on when you listen to the show, the update to the portal might be live, because I know that is something that's coming for your business. But in terms of the portal, what do people need to know about that sort of payment option?
That payment option allows you to access your account, set up an account, have all your account numbers, because you could have personal property and real estate. Yep. You could have a couple of each. Right. And I have 3 of each. And you could do a pay by credit card, debit card, or an e-check, which is an electronic check where you put in your banking number, your account number, and your routing number.
Right. And then I believe that there are fees that are always tied to any payments you make using your card that the county has literally no say in. Is that correct?
That is correct. Our payments are processed by a third-party payment processor. Whether you come into my office, you pay by any other means I've got, it's going to be the same company,
right,
the same fees.
Right. So if folks are, for those of you who are listening, make sure you understand that if you pay by card, there's going to be that extra fee, and there's nothing that Chesterfield can do to take that off.
Correct. And just for good knowledge, the credit card fee is 2%.
Okay.
The debit card fee is $2.50 flat fee. So if
Okay.
you're paying more than $125, use your debit card.
Okay.
And online or any other place where you use a check, e-check, there is no fee to you.
Got it. Okay. Now, one of the other options, again, we're going to handle this maybe in sort of an ease of use, so to speak, is a phone system, but this is the automated system. Tell me a little bit more about how that works.
This is, again, the automated system. You would call into the number that we have on the back of the invoice, and it will walk you through it, ask you for your account number,
right,
verify that you're you with some information, and then walk you through how you want to make the payment.
Right. Now, what kind of information for verification purposes will the system use?
It will ask you if you have an account number and verify your zip code and
Okay.
your address.
Cool. And so basically, in these instances, it's really good for the person who's paying the taxes to make sure they have the bill in their hand while they're on the system. That makes sense. And then, of course, there is this sort of general sort of online banking catch-all, but that payment processing is done in-house. Tell me a bit more about that.
The mail-in payment process?
Or the online banking process.
Online banking, I'm sorry. Yes, you can go to your bank,
Right.
and whether there are fees there, that's up to your bank. We have
Right.
nothing to do with that, but you set up a payee. A lot of people do Dominion Energy,
Right.
Columbia Gas, etc. You set up a payee and the address, and that will then generate, hopefully, an electronic payment to me.
Right.
If the information's not accurate, then you're not going to get an electronic payment, and it'll be stalled coming to me.
Right. So this is one where it seems easy, but you have to make sure that the information is absolutely correct. Otherwise, the thing will just conk out.
Right.
And if you're watching this on the YouTube version, you're probably seeing a version of that specific language, a specific address, so to speak, on the screen. And again, it's really important that folks understand that if you don't hit this exactly right, the payment will not go through.
It'll be delayed.
Delayed.
It'll get to me weeks later.
Right. But it will not go through. I guess, let me rephrase. It will not go through when you probably want it to go through.
Exactly.
Fair
because
enough.
we are governed by that postmark by
Yeah.
the Code of Virginia.
Right.
And a lot of people have their online banking set up from years ago.
Right.
When we used to send our payments to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right.
We don't do that anymore.
Right.
We send it to P.O. Box 70, Chesterfield, Virginia.
Right.
Also, it needs to be payable. The payee needs to be treasurer, Chesterfield County. Not Richard Grohl, who was the treasurer for 30-some years, and not Rebecca Longnaker. The
Right.
law says it has to be treasurer, Chesterfield County.
Interesting. Okay. Now, in terms of ease of use, one of the things I think a lot of us who have grown up or used ATMs and such, we're sort of used to kiosks now,
Yes.
right? And there are 4 of them in the county. Tell me a little bit more about those kiosks and how they work.
I am so excited about those kiosks. I'll try not to talk too much. They're actually called Jack. The vendor calls them Justified Automated Collections Kiosk.
Okay.
So we have 4 Jacks. The first one came at the administration building back in 2020. We were trying to find a way with COVID to make it easier. They're available 24/7. You can come up at any time. You lift the lid, it starts talking you through how to do it.
Great.
You can make tax payments, personal property tax, real estate tax, or your utility payment. So you can pay your water and your wastewater bill. Again, walks you through. It takes credit card, check, cash, or debit card. No fees going for the check or the cash. The same fees for the credit card and the debit card.
Right.
Last year we put one in at North Courthouse Library.
Okay.
And one at Meadowdale Library. And then this year, just within this month, we put one at Clover Hill Library.
Great. So those things are open 24/7, right?
Yes.
And the system sort of walks you through. What was it about those now 4 locations? What went into those 4 being chosen as the places for the kiosk?
The administration building here was basically my prototype to see how they work and to follow it. At Meadowdale and North Courthouse, I know Chesterfield County's administration building, my office, is not local.
For a lot of people.
Central for the county.
Right, yeah, I got you.
So I went the farthest reach as I could. The farthest north library is Bonifas on Rattlesnake, and no one knows where that is. So North Courthouse was the newest, biggest one up there in the north, and the Meadowdale's the furthest south that I could fit one.
Okay.
I'm aiming for Ettrick or Enon, but they need rehabbed first.
Yeah, you just stole my next question, which was going to be, in the future, are there any other potential spots? So that's even great, or even better that you sort of just rattled those off. Now, the other piece, I guess, in terms of options, bank debit, that seems to be a fairly innocuous term, sort of ubiquitous in our day and age. Tell me a little bit more about that option.
That is where you, the taxpayer, authorizes me through a contract to take the money directly from your account, exactly the dollar amount, nothing more, on the due date. Mm-hmm. There's no fees at all because we do that in-house.
Right.
We are working toward a more monthly scheduling of doing that so you can pay in installments. We're not quite there, but a lot of people like that where they don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, it just kind of happens.
Yeah, and you're never late.
Yeah. Now, in terms of, you've mentioned in-house several times today. It seems like that's been a big focal point in terms of doing as much of this as you can here. Yes. Locally. Tell me a little bit more about. I mean, we still have a few more of these, including the Dropbox, which is right here, secure, no stamp needed, only used by your office. What went into sort of the thought process in terms of trying to bring so much of this in house?
I find that if you care about what you're doing, you're going to do it better.
It's fair.
Our bank has had a lockbox. That's what it's called when you mail your payment to an address and a company processes it. And we've had one for years. That's the Charlotte, North Carolina address. And I kept hearing, why are we sending our money there?
Right, yeah.
It never stayed there. It came back. But we just want to make sure people understood that. But I understand also that they have a lot of different companies they work with, and not just me. The utilities department still uses them, I understand. But it's for me to know that the quality control is in place.
Right.
Because things do get misapplied at times.
Right.
And I can't find them until you get a delinquent bill because you paid my bill with your payment.
Right. Yeah.
So we now have 2 people handling it, and mostly at the busy time it takes both of them. Otherwise, it's just one person handling it. We run them through the same type of scanner, and they get uploaded to the bank into your account, and everything goes where it's supposed to go.
Cool. All right, so the Dropbox is obviously here at the administration building, again, only used by the treasurer's office. The other thing that you can do if you do come here to the administration building is to come in person. Do your office hours change at all during this time, or are you pretty much the same?
We stay the same so we don't confuse people.
Makes sense, yeah.
We're 8:30 to 5. Lost track of that, 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday.
And then, obviously, you mentioned earlier that for some folks, here is not necessarily like close.
Right.
And so again, I think I've never been around an organization that really seemed to talk about and care about, customer service the way this one does. I mean, I feel like every time I go someplace, somebody is talking about, wanting to have excellent customer service. And I feel like this is one of those ideas. There's a new place for folks if they live in and around. I guess technically, if you wanted to drive from one part of the county to the other, you could technically pay in Matoka. But tell me a little bit more about sort of the additional in-person option that you have available this year.
We have, I guess, what we're calling a satellite office. It's an experiment. We're trying to see how it's going to work, and if it's well received, then we're going to hopefully do it again and again.
Right.
The old Matoka Elementary School. It's vacant.
Right.
The county owns it, and we're going to send a couple cashiers down there for the 5 business days of May 30th through June 5th.
Okay.
Those are our last 5 days, June 5th being the due date, and we will be able to process your payments there.
Yeah.
Same manner we could in person here at the office and on Laurie Road, so that everything can be handled for you. If you don't want to travel 30, 40 minutes just to get to us.
Right. And you mentioned, if that is a, if that is a hit, and if it's well received, but it sounds like from what I've heard that folks in that area are already pretty excited about it.
That's what I have gathered. I have been talking about this as much as I can, and I've got a list of people to send some. I've got flyers that are going to go out. Those that live in those 2 zip codes, 23803 and 23834, I hope. I got that right. They will get a specific flyer for them that no one else is going to get. It's the yellow one saying, if you can pay your taxes in the village.
Right.
And that's my chief deputy. She lives in that area, so she said this will be a good hit.
Good deal. Now, in terms of the overall package here, one thing I know we wanted to talk about was that there's a rebate that's as part of this year's bill. Can you talk through a little bit sort of how that works and what people might need to know about where that is and how it all works?
That is on your real estate taxes only. It's 5%, and it's based on the total taxes due. the real estate taxes, including any special assessment districts, your Center Point and Chesterfield Town Center and Eastern Midlothian, and it will show on your invoice under the adjustments or payments column.
Okay. And then I know for folks who have been watching this, you probably have seen a couple of times here, versions of the sample bill. I also want to talk a little about sort of if you have a bill which has delinquent charges on it, because I know that there's like a hierarchy or something, right, of the way that the thing is paid. Take me through just sort of how that works.
Okay. First of all, with the code of, the county ordinances,
right.
Stormwater utility fees must be paid first.
Right.
That $12.50 is paid on everybody's bill with this 5% rebate. After that, it will take it by the oldest taxes and collection actions due. And collection actions, I mean penalty and interest.
Okay.
So if you've got, this is 23, if you didn't pay your 22 taxes, it's going to go against that first.
Got it.
And each line on the bill shows the year and shows what was paid.
Right.
So if you don't see it against your 2023 taxes due, it's on there against an older one. You just need to look at your bill a little bit closer.
Right. So before we let you go, Rebecca, obviously, June the 5th is a very busy date. It's a very important date. It is the correct date because you haven't. I've said it several times and you haven't told me otherwise. So I must be getting it right. What's the message you'd like to give to folks heading into the next month or so before that date?
Well, we're here every single day, 8:30 to 5. Keep doing that wrong. 8:30 to 5. However, don't wait till the last week because we have lines everywhere. We give you options outside of the office, online banking, online portal, and the kiosks. You can mail it in. Make sure you get it mailed before the due date because the postmark is what counts. And sometimes it doesn't that they don't postmark it on the 5th. Right. They roll to the next business day.
All right. Last thing, make sure I give them, if folks have questions about their bill, what should they do?
They should call us at 804-748-1201. We're there to help.
All right. Rebecca, thank you very much for coming on the podcast and talking to us about all these different ways that folks can pay their taxes. I really appreciate it. All right. Make sure you check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's at Chesterfield VA, and on Instagram, it's Chesterfield Virginia, all one word. And on Facebook, you can check out our podcast page. Just search Chesterfield Behind the Mic. Make sure to like that page so you can keep up with us as we go forward. Now, let me tell you about all the ways you can check us out. You can watch us on our YouTube channel, as well as on our website at Chesterfield.gov/podcast. An audio-only version of the show is available there, as well as on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, and a whole host of other services. You can also watch the podcast on WCCT Thursday through Sunday at 7, on the weekends at noon. That's Comcast Channel 98 and Verizon Channel 28. And lastly, you can check out Chesterfield.gov/connect with us for more ways for you to get in touch with us and us to get in touch with you. My thanks to my director, Martin Stith, my executive producer, Teresa, Bonifas, and all the good folks in communications and media for all they do. And my thanks to you for joining us today. So from all of us here in Chesterfield County, thanks again for making us a part of your day. We'll see you again real soon. Take good care.